What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. And today we're going to be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart briefly, but we'll take a look over there at the total altcoin market cap. Of course, we'll talk about the Ripple XRP price chart, but I wanted to show you a lot of different things going on in this market and some interesting things that happened during this sell-off that took place over the last few days. If you don't know, there was obviously a huge crash that took place in the cryptocurrency market. You would essentially have to be living under a rock to not know that, or a lot of us were probably hiding underneath rocks during that time. But the great news is that we saw an extreme capitulation event. We saw extreme margin calls. I was reading an article stating that $8 billion in liquidations took place. And you know what? That's what we see when bottoms come in, when it goes and chases as much liquidity as possible. And that's what we witnessed happened here in the cryptocurrency market. So I am in the belief that the bottom of Bitcoin is in. Not only that, but we've got huge wicks bouncing right off the top of it. We're having a nice green day today. We've seen huge automatic rallies come in this market. I posted this over there on Twitter yesterday. We saw Cardano come in there and do a 76% automatic rally right off the bottom. That's the type of stuff that I was talking about a couple of days ago before we went into that capitulation event, is that the mark of the bottom will see all these huge pops off the bottom from these altcoins. That'll be the thing that really shows it. And here we go. We have Cardano with 76% surge right off the bottom. Bitcoin Cash shot up 79%. Litecoin fired up 58%. Ethereum went up 59%. So those were the types of things I was looking for. I mentioned we weren't looking for like this 2%, 5%, 10% kind of stuff. We were looking for like 30, 40, 50, 60% pops off the bottom. Boom, we definitely got that, especially with Cardano coming in there with nearly 80% pop. Then what typically happens is we see some digestion occur, some consolidation and some accumulation take place down in here. So we don't usually just completely recover like in the next day and fire all the way back up. But, you know, we mark the bottom, get a good pop off the bottom. Now we've got to kind of swallow what all just happened. And like I mentioned in yesterday's video, I'm looking for a V bottom to come out of all of this. The thing that we've talked about a lot on this channel, and it just took forever for it to play out, is a double tap back test. And that when you break out on top of the all-time high of anything, so this is the total altcoin market cap, we'll have a tap on top of the all-time high, break out with a dramatic fall to back test the double tap on the all-time high. I've shown this dozens of times over here on the Ethereum price chart, how in 2017 it consolidated from June all the way till November, double tapped on the top, dramatic pullback to get back into the top right there for the double tap back test, which is what we just saw happen in the total altcoin market cap. And believe it or not, that's exactly what the whole C19 sell-off was. So if you weren't around at this channel, I was expecting something huge to come out that time. I was making videos in January, you know, when you start talking about abstract topics and like, man, what's this big event that's going to happen? You know, YouTube does suppress your stuff when you do that. But I was really looking to see some type of big sell-off come over here in the stock market. And sure enough, we got our big, huge story and narrative to go along with what happened, but it was really just a technical move to pull back into the double tap and do a bull flag back test. And then during this entire time period, everybody was very bearish on the stock market. Then finally they all said, well, wait a minute, the Fed is going to be printing all this money. But during the whole time period, very bearish. But on this channel, I consistently remain bull that the stock market is going to keep breaking up, because this was nothing more than a technical move with an incredible narrative to go along with it to print a bunch of money. And we can kind of see how it worked its way back up, right? So it didn't go back up as fast as it came down, but it did come down very dramatic. Same thing for Ethereum over here, right? We can look in here, we can see that we had our first pullback and our retracement that happened up in here. We'll measure that retracement out. You got a 786 retracement, turns on itself in dramatic fashion and fires all the way back down, comes up to consolidate, and then gets its way out. And as of right now, that is what I believe we are doing. I do believe that the cryptocurrency market in general, at least the total altcoin market cap, is going to be V-bottoming out of here. And there's a few reasons why. I'm going to show you a couple of different charts where we've seen similar things like this happen in previous bull runs to certain altcoins. And then at the same time, there's something else. There's one big puzzle piece that is missing from this, if that was the top of Bitcoin. And that's in the 2013 bull run and in the 2017 bull run. Some altcoins took off and swallowed the market cap from Bitcoin. So the money left Bitcoin and flooded into other cryptocurrencies, and in particular, the one that we talk about on this channel the most, the XRP price chart. When the bubble popped in 2013 and when the bubble popped in 2017, and Bitcoin was making its move to the downside during the bubble pop, XRP was surging both times. And this time, we did not have that. Now, a lot of people are going to argue this time is different. I'm never ever going to go with the mindset of this time is different. I've watched this market too much up until this point, getting all the way to this point, that it hasn't been different. This market has been identical to what 2013 was like. And not only that, but like I showed in yesterday's video, in 2013, there was a 50% pullback before Bitcoin reached a little bit higher to hit its top. We just saw a 50% pullback happen in Bitcoin. So in order for the tops that we saw in 2013 and 2017, the legitimate actual tops, XRP did not pull down during that time period. But as Bitcoin was crashing to the ground, XRP was going up during that time period, 2013 and 2017. So I am in the belief at this time, and we have to wait for more stuff to play out on the charts, that we are going to be V-bottoming out of here. If we see something occur where let's say we were traced to the 618 all the way up to here, right in that spot, and then we suddenly make this big move way back down here, then I'm willing to change my mind and say, you know what, that's actually an ABC. But that would require a really big fallback, and well, that would tell me my story at that time. Until then, with the information that's presented to me on the charts that we have right now, everything is telling me we're gonna just V-bottom our way on out of here. And that Bitcoin, so long as it doesn't do the same thing, right? So long as it doesn't have a pull up to this area right here and then pull all the way back down. Let me say this area right here is about 51,500, and then pull down all the way back down into the mid 30,000s, like 36,000, then rotate itself up. You know, as long as we don't do that, but instead we do something more along the lines of just kind of working our way out of here, I'd still expect us to see something in the 70s to 80s. But a lot of it's just dependent on what happens at these retracement levels. And I hope that you guys can understand why I use these things so much, because we really did see how important they were during this recent move that just happened back in here. It was very reactionary to the 702 Fibonacci retracement. Don't be fooled though if we still have consolidation and stuff like this. I mean, we can still look like this. A V bottom can just really work its way out. It just depends on if it hits certain price levels first for me to say that we have an ABC, or at least for in my own decision making for myself, right? Is that we actually need to get all the way up here. So this would not be considered an ABC to me at this point. It would have to come up much higher, then come down, and then rotate its way back up. But either way, enough of that. Back to this. This is what I think we're doing. I do think that we are doing that right now with the information that I have presented in front of me. I really love that we did that right there. I've showed those double tap back tests too many times on this channel. I'm glad we finally got to see it actually happen. So those who have been with this channel for a long time are like, oh my gosh, yeah, this guy was talking about this so much. We just never saw it. I thought he was full of baloney. But there it is. It finally happened. The double tap back test on top of the all-time high. But now we're going to talk about Litecoin for a second, and it's important. You know, a lot of people do not care about Litecoin, and you know, whatever your opinions are about that doesn't really matter to me. I'm just looking at this from a technical standpoint, and having been through the 2017 bull run, remembering what things were like, and I really remember what it was like in here and how it was just boring. It felt like Litecoin was at $50 for years, is what it felt like. It was so boring. But then there was this moment with Litecoin where Litecoin broke out to like $96. There we go, 98 bucks. I really remember that really clearly. Everybody thought, man, this is it. Litecoin's finally breaking out. It's going. And then Litecoin really crashed hard, but it crashed with Bitcoin. It crashed with the rest of the market. And it was really wild. And I've been watching this whole stuff in here. I'm like, man, you know what? Are there any circumstances that I can look back to on Litecoin? And you got to remember, let's go back to just a couple of days ago, right? Let's go back to like right here. Are there any circumstances on Litecoin Litecoin where it just really just breaks out and keeps going. And I look back to it and I say, you know, the only real reference I have of what the parabolic top looked like for Litecoin when it broke out was what happened back in here. But before that ever happened, there was this large crash. And I'm like, man, is there anything showing up here that could indicate that there would be some type of major crash that would take place like that? And let me show you this too. I'm going to overlay all this stuff over here to show you that how similar this has been just moving up in here, and that from a time perspective and a wave perspective, it's all just been the same. And it's been real odd to me being like, is this really going to happen? Are we going to get something that looks just like that happening coming out of Litecoin before it goes off and, you know, finishes everything? And sure enough, it did, man. I mean, it did. I can't believe it. It did it precisely exactly the same way it did in the last bull run. And you can also see kind of what happened with Litecoin during that time period is it really did have to consolidate in there for a few minutes before it got out. And that would make sense for me for Litecoin, right? If we're talking about, you know, Bitcoin having one more push up, if I talk about my conviction and my beliefs, which I will stick with, is that, you know, Bitcoin's going to find its top somewhere up there in the 70s to $80,000 price level. Well, that would mean there's one final push left for Bitcoin. And that shows that Bitcoin's top would come in, right? That'd be the parabolic ending for Bitcoin. And well, what does this structure show over here on Litecoin? That there's one more push up. There's this one more parabolic blow off moment for Litecoin. And structurally, working its way up to that moment, it's done the exact same stuff. And then even this wild, wacky sell off that happened, I remember it, 96, I don't know why it says 98. I remember it being 96. And then it crashing to 32. I remember buying it at 32. It says 34. I don't believe it. It's 32. Maybe it was 34. It was 4 years ago. And just watching this chart during this whole time period to say, are we going to get something like that? And then, I mean, what do you know? I mean, the crash that comes out of Bitcoin, the whole liquidity issue, the margin calls, everything. It makes Litecoin do precisely what it's done previously. I thought that was incredibly interesting. And if we look at that from a fractal perspective of what happened with Litecoin, showing the next move up in Litecoin is the parabolic blow off top, which also coincides with what my thought process is about Bitcoin. That if there is another move up, a V bottom out of here, that the next highs that we do set will be the last highs that are set for Bitcoin for quite a while. And that we are at very late stages in the Bitcoin bull run. And that all of this also coincides with this double tap back test happening over here on the total altcoin market cap. And if there is an additional push a little bit higher for the altcoin market, taking it up to about $1.8 trillion. So looking at all of these variables together, looking at the fact that XRP did not take off during that crash that just happened with Bitcoin like XRP did during the bubble pops of 2013 and 2017, it looks more likely to me that this market is actually going to recover from all of this and set new highs, and that the crash is over. The maximum pain event is done. To all the new people in this market, welcome to extreme fear. This is a place many of us have been far too many times. But what's been amazing is that every time we've gone back to greed. And when you look at this chart and see the fluctuations and how much greed there's been in here, the greed really kicked in back in November, and we've been in greed ever since. But prior to that, for the whole year of 2020, March all the way through November, we spent most of our time in fear and in extreme fear. So this is not a place we've never been before. We've been in this territory before, but like we talk about, when markets swing too far to the upside for too long, they've got to pull back. When markets swing too far to the downside for too long, they've got to pull back up. So this too shall pass, one day at a time. And so it's nice to see all this green on the board. I totally think the bottom is already in for that whole move that we had. And I'm very relieved because I've been talking about in the last couple of videos, I'm not going to be available to make videos tomorrow or on Saturday. And I was very concerned and worried about this event coming. And I was really hoping it would show up while I was still here. It did. We got to cover all of it. I think this is the perfect time. God played it out the way it was supposed to, that I won't be here tomorrow or on Saturday, but I feel very confident stepping away from the charts, feeling that things are okay now. We've gone through the storm. The sun is now shining. People are crawling out of their shelters now. I think we're going to be okay. And so we'll let XRP as well just kind of play itself out for a few days here so we can try to read more into this. But hey, look at that. Back to $1 trillion for the total altcoin market cap. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I hope that you guys have a great Friday and a great Saturday, and I will definitely do my best to get on here on Sunday. If you're looking for something to do over the next couple of days, of course, you can check out my website, which is bcbacker.com. This is my website. It has my course on it where I've deep dived into previous Bitcoin bull runs and the different altcoin market cycles, tying them all together to show how those altcoin markets have worked, altcoin seasons have worked within Bitcoin's price placement. I talk about percentages, mathematics. I talk about my personal exit plans, and I talk about how you can set up, or I teach how you can set up your own charts within TradingView and within CoinTrader Pro. And you could check all of this over here on bcbacker.com. You can follow me over here on Twitter at bcbacker. I will be active on Twitter over the next couple of days for sure. So even though I can't record videos, I've still got my cell phone in my pocket. Of course, can bust it out and type a rocket ship or something. So follow me on Twitter at bcbacker. And well, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Congratulations to all those who survived their first completely chaotic week in cryptocurrency, the most volatile market in the world, but we've made it through the storm. So thanks, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need to pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.